everything's going to be out this side, okay? This side, so you've got all along here and all around the back. Don't be wasting too many. Welcome to the small Skellig. Keep looking that way, I'll just be the voice of the background, okay? The birds that you see are called gannets. G-A-N-N-E-T. Gannets. They're a huge bird. From wingtip to wingtip is around 2 meters, 6 feet. They dive from great heights, and they can dive down underwater, so down to nearly 100 feet. Over 100 feet, up to 30 meters. They're a huge, big, powerful bird. And they choose places like this to live mainly because of us. Until 100 years ago we still hunted them for their meat, their eggs, their feathers. We used them everything from bedding to pillows to quills for writing. And we used to get oil off them for oil lamps. So there was nothing left of them by the time they finished. They were a very valuable resource. The oil we just get off them because their main diet is the oily fish. Mackerel, herring, sprat. You don't get it here, but I'm giving you a heads up. When we get round to the other side of the small rock, the wind will be blowing against us, we're going to get a smell. A very strong smell. It's the guano. Very acidic. Because of the diet, basically. So anyone with a weak stomach, just be careful. Just be ready for it. Just be ready for it. The last time there was a study done, it was over 10 years ago now, and you get guys, scientists coming down from one of the government departments, hop onto the rock, they catch a couple of birds, take samples, and they're doing a guesstimation, basically. I hate them silly kind of words, but it's the truth. What they do is they get on they take a certain part of the rock, they take a picture, and then they kind of try to figure out the population of the birds per square meter square, something along those lines. So the best estimation that we have is around 35,000 nesting pairs, 30 to 35,000 nesting pairs, 60 to 70,000 birds on the rock. It varies over generations, it goes up and it goes down. Their survival, their lives are very entwined with the humans. There was a great famine in Ireland in the 1840s, the Great Hunger. And when the two rocks were in private hands, before they were sold to the state, and the lighthouses were built on the big rock, Skellig Michael, the landlords, which were, I think, the Butler family from Penn, they had to send, during chick season, so now we're leading up to chick season, the chicks being long, they used to send boats full of bailiffs, just patrolling here, because people could come out, poachers would come out from all along the coast to steal the birds. I told you, they were a valuable commodity. So during the Great Famine, the Great Hunger, there was less than 100 birds on the rock, and that was basically down to human survival. People needed to eat, so that was that. So as you see now, 60 to 70,000 birds. When we're doing well, they're doing well. All good? You go around slowly, get a few more pictures, just stop on the other side, it'll be a little bit calmer, and I'll give you another part just slowly. Okay guys? This would be their siesta time. They'll be just having a chill out. You'll see them just waiting for the tide to go down. And that's the rocks. They'll just pop up on there after having a good feed. Two sets of eyelids, no nostrils. They hit the water with such force, they get a little bit knocked out. But over the years, it takes its toll, takes its toll, takes its toll. They go blind, and in the end, when they're blind, they can't find their food. So, but that's just a natural way of life. That's how things progress for them. Funny thing. At one stage, not too long ago, the Formula One companies were investing into looking at the makeup of the gannet's skull. They have two sacs which act like shock absorbers in their skull. And like I said, they've no nostrils, two sets of eyelids. And the Formula One companies were looking at the makeup of the skull to kind of develop and bring it into safety helmets, driver safety helmets. So we're still learning from them, even now, you know. They're an amazing creature. Absolutely scared witness of us. If you ever see one trapped, don't go near them. They're very strong feet. They'll rip you apart. It's happened to us over the years a couple of times. We've had to free them from nets. That's when you see, you know, you look around the rocks, the nests are made of anything. But you see a lot of kind of a strangey green. You know, it's not a natural green. That's all fishing net. Old pieces of rope, plastic, muck, seaweed. You'll see birds with seaweed. That's how they make the nesters. And basically, it's a little wedge shape. And you know, wedge shape, and then sometimes tell me we're doing these kind of things. It's not basically just to stop the one egg that they have rolling off the edge of the cliff. They wedge it in. You know? Years ago, the old fishermen and the old sailboats, rowboats that they had, that's how they fished. Pulled the net kind of in a circle between the ring, kind of a little small version of ring netting. And one of their tricks was to see wherever the gannets were diving. Where the gannets were diving and fish, they'd go shoot the nets. Never came home empty-handed. That was man using nature. Now you've got that many electronics doing everything for you. All it doesn't do is basically put it on a plate and cook it for you. You know? Depth sounders, echo sounders, radar, blah blah blah. You've just got fish finders, everything's just done for you. So that was man generations ago using nature. So when we see, that's what I'm saying, keep your eyes open. On the way back, when we're around the spot, if you see them diving, just keep an eye open, because that means food. It means food or shows the fish. It draws everything else. The friendly ones that we want to see, that puts a smile on everyone's face, makes everyone go, oh. Those guys, everyone comes around because they're feeding. All good?
Yeah.
Now, it's always steady to get a few more shots, and we'll head over to Skellig Michael, the big Skelligs, okay? We're going to stop halfway, don't freak out. I'll get you closer. It's just, the monk spots are at the very top. When we get in close and go around, it's sheltered by the overhang, so you can't see. So we stop about 3/4 of the way over, and I'll just show you where the monk spots are, where the settlement was built, okay? How people get confused sometimes when I stop here and they go, is this as close as we get? Look up where the green valley is, kind of to the right, a little bit to the middle and to the right, and look to the very, very top. Now do you see the green embankment at the very top? The green grass? Start coming over that, and then you start seeing the humps, which is the tops of the monks' huts. You see them? There's a man-made stone wall, that's the boundary wall that goes all the way around. That's probably where your husband is now.
He said he flew the helicopter back from the ago.
Yeah, so he was going up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to be up around there now, so... where exactly, I don't know. We'll get to a stage, we're going close and somebody will be waving at us. We'll see him up in the distance. See this one? Yeah? You're fine. Talk to you later. So this is just to show you. Sorry about that. So you see where they built. That's about 600 feet up. So everything we kind of have from this time is this kind of estimation. There was no real written word kept from those days. That's why things like the Book of Kells are so cherished, because there wasn't that much written word from over 1,000 years ago, not that long ago. A lot of it was lost. If there was anyone to do it at those times. The monks came here around the mid-600s, they think, and they were here up around the mid-1100s, about 500 years. Who, how, or why, we still don't know. Penance or pilgrimage, or maybe a little bit of both, who knows. The thing we do know is why it's been preserved so well is because of where it is. We've not been able to walk along here and pick stones up and break bits off the corner of walls and, you know, the sets of steps that they have. Can't get near it, that's why it's so well preserved. There's 3 sets of steps coming down from the very top. One is just above the landing, which we'll go in and show you. The green valley that I pointed out to you on the right side, just have a look at that when we go in. You see, it's kind of a dark grey snake coming down the left hand side of it. That's a set of steps. You go, oh my god, who's coming down there? one to the southern side, which the people climb up and down to the top, and there's one on the northern side. So we'll go around, we'll show you little bits of everything. The landing, the steps, different steps, little bits about Star Wars. So any questions, don't be afraid to ask. Okay guys? No problem. Sorry? Told you, because of us, we can get on here. You can't get on the small skelligs. Really, they just, that's what it is. Quick Ventures is their home anyway. But, you know, little homes everywhere, all around the steps. And that's just ready-made homes for for the puffins. They basically come off the sea, walk straight in, clean it out, put a bit of bedding in, and that's it. When you see them flying, take pictures if you can, because people really do come from all over the world. When you see them flying, you just notice them flying because they're much better at swimming than they are at flying. You just kind of think, how in the name of God are they up? You know, how they do it, really? But they only come on to dry land to give birth. The rest of the year they're out on the water. They're a really tough little bird. Gannets can't stand us. You'll be walking up the steps, and as close as this bag is to me now, as long as you don't make any sharp movements, you know, scream and shout, not too loud, they'll stay there, chest out, and they'll just always kind of edge just so they can keep you in their eye line. But it's like, people just adore it, you know, because there's not many places in the world like that happen, because they're so used to us over the years. Other places they wouldn't be, you know, like Puffin Island, which is a rock we passed on the way out. But here, because the puffins, they're the generations of birds that have been born there, so they know what it's like. You know, people coming past, they don't bother them, so you know they're kind of used to it. So if you see them, take a picture, because they'll be here for another couple of weeks, but they all leave en masse. Usually by the 7th, 8th, the end of the first week of August, gone. And there might be one or two left, but that's just usually if there's accidents, emergencies, maybe the chick might be a little bit poorly. Other than that, they just all take off en masse. All good, guys? The green valley, you see the black snake kind of coming down the left hand side of it, black grey stick. Just make it out into the grass.
Oh yeah, I see.
And then when it comes over to this, above where that boat is coming out now, you'll see kind of the man-made stone wall. That's the kind of boundary supporting wall that brings it all the way down. The last 20 metres were blown away, cut out when they built the landing. The landing was built in around 1820, when they started to build the lighthouses here. So they needed to build the landing. This would have always been the kind of natural landing cove. So the state came in, blasted in, extended it, the width of it, the depth, and then they built the small pier. Please God, someday you'll come back and you'll do the landing. But if you're ever told, or you ever meet anyone that couldn't go, the weather was too bad, that kind of explains. That's the window that we have to get in here. It can be blowing a gale from the Atlantic, which it usually is, coming in the other side, but that's the far side. If you've got a bad easterly, northeasterly tide or wind coming in, you might get in, but you're not getting out. And as you see, it's so tight, it's so narrow, one boat usually gets in there. You've got to be very careful. That's why we're so controlled by the weather. Some people don't believe us, they've never come out and actually see it. One German couple, 3 years it took them to come out. 2019 with the year they cut out. So 17, 18, 19. They came, they stayed a couple of nights, but every window they came, the weather was too bad. Third time they finally landed, but you know, that just shows the determination. But then some people can just turn up and not even be bothered. There's a space, they'll go and they land, and you don't realise how lucky it is, you know. The season's about 140 days. We get somewhere between 80 to 90 landing days. The weather's good enough to land. So, the landing was built they decided to build 2 lighthouses here to distinguish the Skelligs. There was so much shipping coming over from the New World, from the States. This was the first kind of landmark. So to distinguish it, in those days there was no flashing lights and this and that, it was just to put 2 lights on it so people know this is the Skelligs. Go right, head down south if you're going to the UK or onto Europe, turn left. If you're going up to Scotland, leave the North Sea, maybe to Scandinavia. You know, it was the perfect marking point, mark point. So they built the landing, and then you've got the pathway that goes all the way around to the lighthouses. It's about 7 feet wide, and that's because that was the width of a John Q cart in those days, which you would have needed to carry all the materials around. It was a work in progress. Build the landing, then build the pathway to go all the way around. All good?
Yeah.
Look around slowly. We'll point another few things out to you. Decent view. The ugly contraption sticking out the side of the rock there on the tripod, or on the stilts I should say, sorry, that's the helicopter pad. They hate building anything new onto the Skelligs, but around 87, 88 they automated the lighthouses, so all they needed to do was just bring the engineers out once every 2-3 months, so they built the helipad. It was just a necessity. Nowadays it's an added bonus for just in case, touch wood it never happens, but there's a medical emergency and anyone needs to be airlifted. So we live with it. We know it's ugly, but you know, it's part of the rock now. And as you can see then, if you look up to the right of it, you can see people coming down the steps. And the first thing, do you see that big kind of rock that's sticking up where people are walking down to? It's called the Wailing Woman. And that was in the Star Wars films, where Rey's training with the lightsaber, she cuts to a rock, cuts the top off. So there were so many complaints, all the boatmen got together, we got a big pot of glue and we stuck the top of the rock back on. No, but it's just, I know, you know, there's horses for courses, different people like different bits, but that's a reference point to the Star Wars film. And it's an interesting piece because see how big the rock is. You can see people stood up to it. It's about 9-10 feet tall, 11 feet tall, but it's flat fronted. When we get round in front of it now, you'll go, where's that gone? It just blends in with the front picture of the rock. It's amazing. All good, guys? steps to the southern steps. See people stuck on the pathway. Seeing people there kind of puts everything into perspective. When we're doing the landing, we don't bring people around here because they take one look and they go, nah, I don't think I'll bother today. Right, it's fine. But they look up, and the highest point is 720 feet. So, it starts in the pathway where somebody, they've got the red jacket, just about there, just to the right of there, and he goes left, and then he goes, just basically follow the bodies that are coming down. And remember I told you about the wailing woman? Can you see it now?
Just barely.
See? It's flat fronted. It's where, do you see where the person with the yellow jacket is? They're taking a picture of somebody. That's the wailing woman about 8-10 feet in front of them. See how it just blends into the front of the rock? So, and then it continues up and over to the left. You can follow the people going down. There's a small plateau and dog legs turns, and then it goes to the very top. The very top, that area is called Christ Saddle. It's an area about 20 meters squared where you can just stop and catch your breath, have a quick drink, something to eat if you need. The top of the last steps will show you the other side of it. That's called Christ Saddle. In the Star Wars films, that's where the first of this trilogy, Rey's landing, and she's running up the steps to give the lightsaber to Luke. That's where that was filmed. The top 30-40 steps there. A quick, to put it into perspective, if you look back at the small Skelligs and look to the right of it, you see a small rock in the distance. You see it? It's called a lemon. That was actually used in the Harry Potter films. Yeah. The Half-Blood Prince, I think it is, where they're on the water, himself, Harry and Dumbledore, blah blah blah, going into a cave looking for something. Do you remember? That's the rock that they used. CGI, they did everything put onto the background. But the helicopters were around here for a couple of days looking for somewhere. They saw the rock, perfect, and that's the rock that was used in the Harry Potter films. Everything that was left over after the Harry Potter films, they're put into these kind of memory banks. Companies buy them up, all the unused film footage, and it's put into the memory bank. Lucasfilm, come on a few years then, we're looking for somewhere to shoot Star Wars. We need something different, original. Came across all these old stills from the Harry Potter films and went, where the name of God's that? Harry Potter, these Skellig Islands, Selkirk, and the rest is history. So it was just meant to be. You know, it's funny, nobody believes me, but it's the truth. It is the truth. So from Harry Potter to Lucasfilms, that's how they found this. And the beauty about this was, about nearly 300 degrees where they were shooting on top of the Skelligs, they don't have to put anything in the background because there's nothing there. They wanted to keep it as original as possible. The 2 days, or the 2 sets of filming, which 3-day or three-day kind of shoots, and they were blessed because before both shoots and after both shoots, the weather was crap. It was rubbish, terrible. And the day of filming came, the sun came out and shone. They wanted to use the helicopters to bring everyone out. First day they brought them out, they blew a load of chicks off the rocks, killed them. I went, that's not happening anymore. So we got to bring everyone out, which wasn't a bad thing for us. But you know, they were still looking after the ecology of the rock. It was amazing how it worked out. Back to the rock itself, the big grey huts, storage huts. Maintenance men come out Monday to Friday, so they'll be tap dancing up there now at this moment because they're going home. Fridays, boat comes, they finish early on the boat and away they go. But they're out, they're constant maintenance, fixing the walls, steps, anything that happens, the men are out here to fix it. Move further to the left of the big huts and you'll see there's a hut, the hut with the kind of a pink box we can see outside it, with the solar panels on the roof. That's where the guides stay. Now the guides, there's 5 of them all together. There's always at least a minimum of 2, sometimes 3, depends on the shifts. They come out for 2 weeks, they go back to the mainland for a week, they go home. When they come out here, they have to bring everything. I repeat, everything with them. Food, clothes, toiletries, medication, you name it, they've got to bring it. Until last year there was no toilet, there was only a compost toilet out here, which I think the less said about the better. No running water, no electricity. The workmen bring about 30 to 40 barrels of small barrels, not big huge barrels, of fresh water out from the mainland. And the solar panels give them enough energy just to charge whatever they're using each a day, you know, so whether it be the phone or tablet. They're a special breed, and I mean a special breed. When they're interviewing, I don't mean in a bad, well, maybe I do mean in not a bad way, but just they're interesting because they take such a long time to choose the guides because this is a special environment. You need special people. Bob, the head guide, this is his 37th year.
Wow.
Then Claire, I think it's next year's about 25, 26 years, and he goes down to the late teens. So they take a long time in interviewing and choosing them, but you can kind of understand why. If there's 4 or 5 bad days, there's nobody out here. You know, you might not even get on with the people that you stay stuck out there with. So they're delighted to see people. You know, we always tell people, don't be afraid, go up and have a conversation with them. They never get bored because they love to see the fresh people coming in, conversations, new friendships. So that's the guides. Now, all good? We'll go around, we'll show you the lighthouses. in, both built at the same time. The Skellig has its own microclimate. It draws cloud. So that's why when the monk's built above, huge, amazing piece of engineering, beehive huts, which are just fantastic to look at, the engineering, the steps, everything. But they built two systems which are about the size of the engine covers under the huts, because there's constant rain, so that's how they got the fresh water. That's why I always say there's people coming from Europe there, because that's Roman engineering, you know, from Roman times, building drainage, building, you know, stuff like that. It's just way ahead of its time. So the highest peak, about 720 feet. So it draws clouds, so constant rain, constant cloud. That top left-hand corner, it's kind of the northwestern corner, constantly fog-bound. It's the first place that gets fog-bound. So as well as not being really fit for purpose, they've moved on. This was about 50 or 60 years after they were first built, 1870s, I suppose, 1880s. And they've built lighthouses up to the north of us, up at the Blaskets, which is off Dingle. You see the big island above and small islands to the left of it. That's the Blaskets off the Dingle Peninsula. Anyone that was there last week? And down to the south of us, the very edge, you've got a couple of small rocks. That's off West Cork. There was a lighthouse built there as well. So, you know, times were coming are moving on. So they just closed that one down. They extended the living quarters, as you can see. It's a big living quarters block at the back of the lighthouse. And there was 5 or 6 lighthouse keepers and their families. Around 30 people living there at any one time. Up where the beehive huts are, there's a gravestone on the floor. It's beautifully carved out. And what happened, it was two brothers from a lighthouse keeper's family. One was about 3, one was about 5, 6. Over a winter they died. They couldn't get help from the mainland. You can imagine what the weather's like out here now, how difficult it is to get in and out. So then they couldn't get help from the mainland out. They couldn't get the boys back to the mainland to medical help, and they died, they passed away. So they buried them above where the monks' huts were, preserved the bodies. And then the next summer, weather improved, they took the boys back to their home graveyards, and they were buried there, interred there. But they left the headstone above there in memory. But after that, the Irish Lights, as it's known now, which looks after the Irish lighthouses, buoys, marker buoys, all that kind of stuff around the coast, they realised, you know, we can't be putting families, especially children, in these situations, these places. So what they did after that was they said, we'll build accommodation on the nearest point as feasible on the mainland to wherever the lighthouses are. So the lighthouse keepers call it cottages for the Blaskets and the Skellig lighthouses are actually on Valentia Island, if anyone's staying there, down Knightstown, the foot. You'll see them signposted. So even out something as terrible as that, they learn something, you know? Can't be putting people in those kind of dangers. So there was 30 people, loads of kids. They used to bring teachers out from the mainland, governesses they were called in them days, on ridiculous, and I mean ridiculous, wages. Because it's the only way you can entice people to come out. But there's all stories of, well, you can imagine, lighthouse keepers' wives, you know, working hard out here, raising a family, and then these lovely, beautiful young teachers, governesses coming out. Oh, you can imagine the friction that's going to be there. Next thing, all the lighthouse keepers are shaving and they're washing and they're all happy out. But it was their own little community. That's what they had to deal with out here. You know, you can only imagine the stories. But what they're talking about doing is doing up the old lighthouse and making that into a tour. Many people always want to return to the Skelligs. So what they're thinking for the future is maybe just to give people an option, as well as going up to the lighthouse, to the beehive huts. You can come west along there, follow the path around, and visit the 2 lighthouses. So just options for people. Now, all good? We'll go around. We'll show you the last set of steps. Back out past the landing. And if anyone wants to get pictures at the landing then, just as mementos, I'll take them. There's no panic call. You want to take your selfies, then we'll head away home. We'll be home in about 50 minutes. You all good? Yeah. Perfect. Set of steps. See them? Start at the top, and then you see the grey line coming down the far embankment on the far side. From top right over to this left hand corner, and then you see you just have to follow the dark shade. It doglegs and turns and goes at an angle straight to the very back of the cove. And at the very back, it's just a little bit too lumpy today. Sometimes we go in, but you can see the bottom of the steps just cut into the rock, come right down to the water's edge. At the very top, do you see the chain link fence? It's a plastic fence, man-made. I told you they hate putting anything like that up, but you can put as many signs up as you want. Do not come down these steps. You're still going to get clowns. Oh, okay, that seems like a good idea. Yeah. You know, they're not maintained. They're wide open. Just dangerous. So they had to put the fence up to stop people coming down. And that's the other side of quite settled. So it's a nice kind of flat area, like I said. And then from there, you go up, basically behind the rock, follow the steps round, and up at the highest peak that we see here inside us, up onto your left, straight in kind of thing, up top. That's where that embankment is behind the monks' huts. So see how sheltered they were from all the very, very bad weather that was coming in from the Atlantic. As I said, from the north, from the east, they're cold winds. But not bad, not dangerous, normal. It's usually everything from the kind of south and west coming in off the Atlantic from our lovely cousins over in the States who send us the tail ends of all those lovely storms. Oh God. But this is where they come in. This is the first place they hit. The 3 sets of steps. There's a couple of theories, a couple of ideas. You know, it could be both of them were thought of at the time. That's where they're coming in from one direction. You can still get down to the water's edge and launch or meet a boat. You have other options. You can see how sheltered the island can be from weather on the opposite side. The other one was safety. Well, not safety, but just protection, fear. If you see a bad sail or a strange boat, something you're not sure of coming from one direction, you can get down to the water's edge, you can launch, get away. A couple of things that were mentioned, that were recorded, was they were raided by the Vikings a few times. Now this was just a trading post, they had nothing. You know, there's never been any great valuable objects found, or you know, crucifixes or things that were used in worship. It was just they basically survived. Fish, they traded fish, shellfish, birds' eggs, feathers, and the king of the day was sealskin, vellum. It was basically like a vellum. It was basically they used it on their shoes, feet covering, clothes covering, shelter to cover the boats. It was like the rubber of present day, you know, and it was a valuable asset. You know, and so they traded massive boats. So the Vikings kidnapped one time the head abbot and said, "We'll hold you for ransom." He said, "Look, we have nothing," and they didn't have anything to give. So the time came and went. They starved him to death as an example because they didn't get anything. So maybe as well as also as a protection from the weather, escape routes. You know, you've got options to get away and down. Now, guys, all good? That's about it. I'll just go round to the landing again, and if you want to get a couple of pictures, we'll get a couple of pictures and we'll head home. No problem, stood up, wherever you are, just keep your hand moving. Okay? We'll go around slowly anyway, nice and tidy. On the way home, it might get a little bit splashy, so all we ask is, guys on that side, you should be fine. Here, you've got plenty of room, just move up a little bit, maybe little bits of splashes to the back, nothing major. Okay, trust me. Don't buy a second-hand car off me, but you can trust me. Alright, guys.